the message out of one side of the mouth is screw rich people. They deserve to kick something down to you. But then the other side of the mouth is what's so good about being rich, or why do you think these people are better than you, or why do you think they're smarter than you, or why do you think they're harder working? Well, let me throw it back at you then. Why be rich? And what do you care? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you really need? Everyone has a couple of TV sets, right? I mean, not we all, but most people aren't rich, and they're fine.
Everyone has a TV set in every pot.
Matt Fondelier, the porcelain punisher, he's not a rich guy, but he drives a new car, and he lives in a house in a safe neighborhood, and he seems to be pretty comfortable. I was never rich, but I didn't really want for anything. I enjoyed myself back in the day. I had to have roommates, but I had a TV in my room, and I drove a car, and it's like, it wasn't like I was eating out of a dumpster. I was just making $300 a week. I know it sounds like a lot.
Sometimes you did it out of a dumpster.
I would only eat the fish fillets before I threw them away.
On the way to the dumpster.
Yes.
So you intercepted them from their dumpster fate.
I would announce
rescued them.
that I would be. They should have known at McDonald's when I volunteered, and they're like, "Who's going to throw away these fish fillets of sitting here for 2 hours under the heat lamp?" I'll do it, and then I'd eat them by the dumpster. But let's listen, because there's a part here where he sort of gets into small business, and he gets into smart, and he gets into hard work, and it bothered me. Let's hear it. Now, all right. We'll try that again for you. Yeah, I'm a little audio problem here. Do we have it?
If you've been successful, you didn't get there on your own. You didn't get there on your own. I'm always struck by people who think, well, it must be because I was just so smart. There are a lot of smart people out there. It must be because I worked harder than everybody else. Let me tell you something. There are a whole bunch of hard-working people out there.
Hold on a second. There's hard-working people. First off, I understand what working hard is because I used to dig ditches for a living, but that's donkey work. Yes, you're out in the sun, you're busting your ass. I never worked. I worked harder when I cleaned carpets and worked harder when I dug ditches, making $7 an hour. But he said the hardest working. The hardest working is different than a lot of hardworking people out there. And no, I'm going to disagree with the president and say if you are in fact smart and you are in fact the hardest worker, you'll do fine. But again, why be rich anyway? I mean, that's not the end all and be all, is it? We don't like these people. Like, which is it? What is our relationship supposed to be with rich people? Do we hate them? Do we secretly want to be them?
Yes, both.
I know. So why do you, on one hand, say that these people deserve and these people? And by the way, it is an anti-American, and I don't mean that in a terrorist kind of way, but this country is sort of built on pull yourself up, start your shit, stake your claim, do your thing, innovation. The folks that made it, so-called made it, and again, I don't know why we're so obsessed with folks that have made it, but the folks that have made it had help along the way. Not necessarily true in many instances. Many. I mean, yes, you can count being delivered at a hospital that had running water and electricity, and you can count roads that worked, but as my friend Dennis Prager would say, how did Derek Jeter get to where Derek Jeter is? Derek Jeter, A, is gifted, and then B, busted his ass. But yes, they're roads. He didn't have to ride a horse to Yankee Stadium. And it was interesting because I said to Prager on stage in Houston, I said, how many weekends out of the year do you work? And he said, 50. And I said, yeah, there you go. You work a little harder, and thus you drive a Lexus. That's what it is. You don't have to work on weekends, but then you might not get a chance to drive the Lexus, but you shouldn't be pissed that the guy drives the Lexus if he chooses to work every single weekend. All right, let's hear a little more.
If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life.
Nope.
Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we had that allowed you to thrive.
Well, yeah.
Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, that you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
The road part or the business
Internet
part?
didn't get invented on its own. Government research created the Internet, so then all the companies could make money off the Internet. The point is that when we succeed because of our individual initiative, but also because we do things together.
All right. This is from Friday in Roanoke, Virginia, by the way. I know who he's talking to. He's talking to a bunch of people who wish they were more successful than they actually are and who aren't as smart and don't work as hard as many others. I don't know any super smart, super hardworking people that aren't super successful by their standards. Not everyone's standard is, I want $1 million. Other people's standards can be, I want a good life. Like, I want to do what I want to do. I feel like there's a lot of people who their yardstick for success is their own yardstick. Why does it always have to be a monetary yardstick? Do you know what I'm saying?
So are you finding a problem with this idea that we're all in this together with that
Yes.
being the... I mean, it's kind of like United We Stand. I mean, like, that's
no,
a very...
This is him trying to do a class warfare thing. This is him trying to turn people against people who have more than they have. That thing where it's like, hey, there's plenty of smart people out there and there's plenty of hardworking people out there, but we didn't get that way. Most people who run it, well, first off, most businesses fail. I mean, most small businesses fail. Most restaurants, most bars, most undertakings, what we're doing here, most of these things fail.
Half failed in the first year.
Yes, and it's probably worse than that over the first 5 years.
Yeah.
It's probably 70-something% of small businesses fail. So I don't know.
even think Players Club is still around.
What is wrong with those people, and then why do the other ones succeed? Because of the bridges and the roads, or
the internet?
And the internet? No. People work harder than other people, or they're smarter than other people. And yes, there is a group of people whose parents are rich, but let's go back a generation. They'll tell you why their parents are rich. They'll tell you their dad came over on a boat from Ireland and then started his own import company or something, and now the kid's rich. But they're only one generation removed from somebody who busted their ass or had a great idea. I'm just saying this notion of taking people who have something, and it doesn't matter what it is, and then taking the larger majority of people that don't have what that is, and that is a Rolls Royce, or it could be a house on the hill, or it could be whatever, an entourage, whatever, a successful small business, and then trying to enlist those people and somehow feeling like that person that did what they did to get where they are is a bad person or a lucky person, or we should all be in their place instead, is a ridiculous message to send. And it's the exact opposite message of this country. This country is about focusing, busting your ass, outworking the guy, out hustling the next guy. And yes, if you are smarter, it helps. If you're talented, it helps. But if you're the hardest working, you'll be fine.
But didn't everyone get where they are with a little? I know what you're saying.
Go ahead.
I agree with you. But like with a little, the right person has to give you a boost at the right time. Like no one's going to claw their way to the top by themselves, right?
All right. Well, what's my story then? I met Jimmy.
But you were prepared. You prepared yourself by busting your ass and working hard.
Yeah, I didn't meet Jimmy. I found Jimmy.
Right, but you prepared
of
yourself for
course. Well,
opportunity.
look. We can distill this. Every one of us could have been out on our Schwinns/Huffies at age 11 and been clipped by a drunk driver and then brain dead. So it takes a little luck to make it through high school and all the stupid things you do. And then, yeah, at some point you partner up with somebody and you meet that person, hopefully, and there's a break or there's a guy or there's a right place and a right time. But, yeah, there's 100 million married couples. Well, how'd you meet your wife? Well, don't tell me that wasn't. Well, your friend set you up. Did you do that on your own? You took a road to get to the restaurant, did you not?
I guess that makes sense.
mean,
Someone had to build that road.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a dirt road. It was up in the hills.
Right.
Right.
Hey, look,
How did Christopher Columbus get his boat?
everybody met somebody or did something. That's that argument is insane. If you want to distill it down to that, that's insane. Now, there's parts where you get grants from the government, and there's people that get, scholarships, and there's small business loans, and I don't know what else. Yeah, there are things that you could legitimately say. Look, let's face it. I don't think that Tori Spelling would be working on her fourth book if her dad was an Aaron Spelling. I mean, there's that. I understand that. But that's not the lion's share of who we're talking about. The lion's share of who we're talking about are people that just bust their butt, and they've now become the enemy. And if I hear this fucking fair share thing one more time, I'm going to throw myself off of something very high and land on something pointy, because believe you me, these people pay their fair share. Could they pay more? Yes. Do you want to argue over that? That's a fine argument, but please stop saying fair share. They pay way more than their fair share, considering what they use and how many people are paying in.
What should we call it instead of fair share?
You just say we want rich people to pay more.
It's kind of wordy.
Here's the thing. What's the share? Let's break the share down. The share is the yearly nut of this country, right? Military and teachers and potholes and firemen. There's a yearly nut, and that nut has to get paid every year by the citizens who use the military and the potholes and the streets and the bridges and all that. So there is a nut. So let's say there's 300 million Americans. I know there's a few more. And you just go ahead and lop off 100 million of underage ones who can't work and overage ones that are retired and whatever it is. And then you lop off ones that have a disability or for one reason or another are physically, mentally unable to work. Well, now you're left with, let's say 150 million Americans in charge of covering the nut. Now, the rich guy, the nut, the fair share would be take the nut, divide it into 150 million people, and that's your thing. $9,000 a year. That's it. Or $12,000 or $7,500. That's your fair share. Good. I'm already paying 10 times that share. So you want me to pay 13 times. That's fine. That's an argument we can have. Do I really need that money? Does so-and-so need that money? I don't know. But let's not call it fair share. The share's taken care of 10 times over. Right. I would argue that rich folks are probably paying 10 to 20 times as much share-wise as they should already. Go ahead, Brian.
Unfair share? I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Relative share.
The idea that you need to start getting people who make a lot of money and pay a ton in taxes already to start paying their fair share is essentially a lie.